Hello, everyone. It's time for another podcast. I never quite know what to call these because we do both an audio and video version. And we thought now, with all the film festivals either running or wrapping, this would be a great time for us to do our own Film Yap fall film preview. And so, of course, joined me today are Film Yappers David Bolling and Alec Toombs. Or David, you prefer DC, don't you?
Either or, that's cool thing.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys, for joining me. And so what we've done is each of us has kind of gathered our own list of movies that we're particularly looking forward to. So this is not exhaustive. We're not going to give you 50 titles of movies, but we're going to give you at least a couple dozen here that we're excited about. So, DC, why don't I start with you? What is the movie you are most looking forward to this fall? We say fall, we basically mean now through Oscar season. So you fall and winter.
There is so many, and luckily for me, like the fall is always has the best blockbusters coming out. That's the potential Oscar contenders. But one I've been dying to see, and the trailer just came out a few days ago, was Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery.
Yeah, and so of
that
course
would be
that's
on my list also. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, that's the sequel, of course. To I don't think anyone expected that first movie to be as successful as it was.
No.
So what did you like about the first one, DC, and why you're so much looking forward to this one?
Well, Knives Out was like one of my favorite movies of 2019 because I love Rian Johnson. I love that cast. It was such a great, clever spin on the murder mystery that was kind of being, I don't say tired, but kind of brought new life to it. And this year actually brought a lot of murder mystery concepts to us in terms of TV and movies. And with Glass Onion, we're getting Daniel Craig back as the Southern detective with a whole new cast of people, including Edward Norton, Dave Bautista, Kate Hudson, Janelle Monáe. And it is one of those times, and I kind of tweet about this, where I'm excited about it. I don't need to see a trailer for it. I'm like already hooked.
Alec, why are you looking forward to that one since it was on your list too?
I was a huge fan of the first movie, like DC was. I'm also a big fan of Rian Johnson's. The cast, again, is superb. The cast in the first movie was great. There was a few names he didn't mention. Catherine Hahn, who is always great, and Leslie Odom Jr., who's consistently reliable. Looks really good.
Okay. What's the movie on your list, Alec?
Probably the movie I'm most looking forward to at this point would be Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. It's an autobiographical movie about his childhood and how he got into filmmaking. I've been on a huge Spielberg kick lately. He is probably my favorite filmmaker of all time. I went and saw E.T. in IMAX and Jaws in 3D. So I'm really just riding the Spielberg wave right now. The cast on this movie is crazy, too. It's Paul Dano, Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, Judd Hirsch, Julia Butters, who you might remember from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. When Spielberg's on, man, it's hard to top him. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
DC, I think that was on your list too.
Yeah, it was my number two. Spielberg is my favorite director of all time, but I've seen every one of his films. And actually, me and fellow contributor Nate Richards been talking about this for a while. And for me, it's also important because Spielberg also co-wrote the script, and he hasn't done that since AI, artificial intelligence. But it's again an autobiography of his life, so it's going to be amazing seeing how he grew up, wanting to become a filmmaker, and in a coming of age story way. And it's premiering at the time of this recording, it's premiering at the Toronto International Film Festival tonight. So I'm like dying to see what the reactions will be like.
Yeah, I'm interested just because Spielberg, obviously, great filmmaker, not a guy that does like, I don't want to say he's not a personal filmmaker because I think he puts lots of pieces himself into his movies, but he's not really shined the light on himself ever before. So that's an interesting thing for he's doing something that's semi-autobiographical. One for me is Empire of Light. This is a new film from Sam Mendes, another director that I really like. Stars Olivia Colman and Colin Firth. It's kind of hard to describe. It's set in the 1980s English seaside town. It's cinematography by Richard Deakins, so it's like very moving and beautiful. but it's something about just people having connections and through cinema. So it's kind of got that like cinema paradiso kind of feel to it. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
This one wasn't really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, DC.
Sorry. It's okay. I'm also a big fan of Sam Mendes. This is coming off of 1917, and even though the reactions have been pretty mixed and positive so far, what we've seen at various film festivals, I'm still looking forward to it for a lot of aspects. One, Sam Mendes. Two, the cast, because I love Olivia Colman. You have to have Roger Deakins as cinematographer. He's my favorite DP of all time, and also it's also from Searchlight Pictures, which every year you're going to expect them to have like a huge award. And what we're looking at so far, just from the teaser, this could possibly be a good time.
All right, DC, what's another one from your list?
Let's go. A movie that I've been waiting for years to come out, and finally is hoping it'll be a great sequel. Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yeah, I think Alec, was that on your list as well?
For sure. I'm a huge James Cameron guy. People always want to bet against him. Titanic went hugely over budget. People said it was going to flop. What did it do? Became the biggest movie of its time. Avatar, people made fun of it, said it looked like Fern Gully in space. What did it do? Became the biggest movie of its time. Don't bet against James Cameron. He hasn't made a movie in 13 years. This one, I'm sure, is going to make a ton of money and will probably be pretty good. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
I remember when Avatar came out, people were making fun of it at the time. And what I said was, because I got to see a very early screening of it, and I said, you know what? I can see how you step back and think about it and look at stills from it, and you're like, this looks kind of cheesy. But like while you're there in the theater, wrapped up in that experience, it works. So I'll be curious to see. And of course, he's doing, was it 3 sequels total to Avatar he's doing?
Yeah, while I'm excited for it, I kind of would like to see James Cameron make something other than an Avatar movie before he passes away.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That one's on my list too. Alec, why don't we go back to you? What's another one on your list?
How about we talk about Amsterdam, the new David O. Russell movie? There's a lot of stacked casts in movies coming out this fall, but this may be the most stacked of all of them. O. Russell doesn't always hit for me, but when he does, he hits hard. The cast of the movie, insane. Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Chris Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy. I could keep going and going and going. Everybody is in this movie. De Niro's in it. Not the greatest sign that they pushed it up. It seems like it was more of an awards contender, and they've moved it up. I know some word festivals hasn't been the best, but with that cast and that director, I'm certainly intrigued.
Yeah, DC, I think that was on your list too.
It was, because for me, the last great movie I loved from David O. Russell was Silver Linings Playbook. That's one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. After that, I wasn't a big fan of American Hustle. And Joy was lesser. I was less terrible than that. This one, I'm more excited because it's the cast, like Alec mentioned. Like, I love Christian Bale. He's teaming with a Russell after Fighter. I love Margot Robbie. I love John David Washington. And from the trailer, I don't know what the tone is going to be. It's going to be very silly. Was this trying to clear their name after this murder? I don't know, but even though Russell has been got about backlash in the past year or so, I'm still curious, hoping he can make a good drama out of this.
Okay, yeah, I'm very hot and cold on him as a filmmaker. Kind of, I love some movies, some other ones not so much. Let's do one from my list, which is The Menu. And this is a horror comedy sort of thing. It's about a young couple. Nicholas Hoult, Anya Taylor-Joy are going to a remote island for an exclusive restaurant played by Ralph Fiennes. It's one of the very hoity-toity thing where people, only the very well-to-do and famous and whatever get to come for this special secret food event, and then presumably nasty cannibalistic things unfold. It's a little unclear, but yeah, it definitely looks like it's hitting the right notes. Okay, DC, why don't we or Alec, DC? Let's go back to you for one of yours.
Let's go. I think one of the better superhero movies that I'm hoping we're going to get this year. I'm going to say Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. Now, of course, my instinct going into it is, how are we going to do a Black Panther movie without the Black Panther?
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
Because
but people are very, very excited about it. I think probably from a average movie fan standpoint, it's probably the most anticipated movie of the fall. But yeah, let's put it this way, I'm intrigued. I really want to see what they can do with it, and what's going to be the future of that character, that franchise going forward.
yeah, because I love the first movie. That was like that was like one of the biggest movies of 2018, and sequel was like inevitable. And for, like you guys, like I was very skeptical because the passing of Chadwick Boseman was such a huge loss on Hollywood and everybody that was involved making the sequel. And I was very curious, like, okay, how are they not incorporate T'Challa into the story?
Yeah.
But it was that first trailer we got at Comic-Con recently that just like, whoa, okay. Because that's one of the best MCU trailers I've seen in a long time. And for me, I trust Ryan Coogler to make a great sequel.
Okay.
It was on my list too. Coogler's one hell of a filmmaker, in my opinion. Black Panther isn't my favorite movie of his by any means. I think Creed is actually his best movie to date. I'm going to take somewhat of a hot take here, and I'm not trying to minimize or denigrate Chadwick Boseman's talent, but I felt in the first movie, Letitia Wright and Michael B. Jordan were actually the standouts from a performance perspective. I actually thought Boseman was better as T'Challa and Black Panther in Captain America: Civil War. I found him much more fascinating in smaller doses as opposed to in his own movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, Alec, let's go to you for another one on your list.
What we got? Okay, I'll discuss it real quick. I'm curious about Halloween Ends, the final David Gordon Green Halloween installment. I didn't like Halloween Kills nearly as much as Halloween 2018, but it's October. It's Michael Myers. It's Jamie Lee Curtis. John Carpenter scoring. I'm there. I don't know if this is on either of you guys' radar or.
It was. I mean, I don't know if I like Halloween Kills, it would have. But that's a movie where I remember leaving the theater thinking that was not that good, and then I think like a few days later I kind of like bumped my grade down because it was just the script itself was just very. It was just a messy process, and the way it wrapped up, I was spoiled. But I was like, okay, we're gonna leave it off like that. I don't know. For me, I mean, I really liked the 2018 sequel, and so hoping that this one will conclude the trilogy in a nicer way.
Yeah, I'll just say this about Halloween's, specifically commenting on the title, is that a promise? Because I don't think I've even seen the last couple of Halloween movies. I mean, I remember when Halloween H2O was out, and I was like, oh, all right, they're finally going to put a definitive end on this thing. I'm like, how many times has Michael Myers been killed in these movies? Like, he's dead finally. Yeah. So, okay. One from my list is Till. Of course, that's a reference to Emmett Till. And this is a story, of course, about just, one of the watershed moments in the civil rights movement, really in American history. But the thing is about with Emmett Till's story is it occurred really right before the dawn of the mass media age, really right before television and easily accessible film like that. So it exists in sort of this mythological framework where people, know the story, the basics of it, but they really don't know the humanity of it. They haven't maybe seen the pictures of the films or anything like that. So I'm really interested to see what they can do with this story to sort of bring it to life, and I think can really comment on some things going on in our political sphere today. So I'm really excited about that one.
Sorry.
Go ahead, DC.
It's crazy how we never gotten a Emmett Till story movie until now. And this is one that could be, or it could be an Oscar bait type movie based on the subject matter, and it could be a very impactful story, like what's been going on in our country for the past couple of years. But I'm also really excited to see Danielle Detweiler as his mother. Because she was great in last year's The Harder They Fall. So
she was the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm curious to see like if she can grab some like Oscar attention from this.
Okay, DC, what is another one from your list?
This one, I mean, I'm curious about because the director, he his last movie kind of, I don't know, it kind of made me mad in a way I can't explain, but I'm curious about The Whale, directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, and just tell people a little about that because that actually stars Indiana guy Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, I was forgetting about that. He's born here in Indy, but he plays he plays a 600-pound man who's like dealing with the I guess the loss or breakup of his gay lover, and he's trying to reconnect with his daughter, played by Stranger Things star Sadie Sink.
Yeah, I'm really interested in one of this too. You know, Brendan Fraser's had an interesting career of ups and downs. Obviously, been mostly down the last 10 or 15 years or so. You know, there's been a lot of talks about, you know, how much he, you know, gained weight and lost hair and doesn't look anything like the Brendan Fraser from, you know, the old days. And it seems like he's in his last few roles, he's been trying to sort of, you know, embrace moving on with his career, not being like the young, skinny, hot dude anymore and becoming a more mature character actor. So, you know, embracing a role where he is playing a 600-pound guy. And I think the idea is that, you know, he went into this terrible depression when his boyfriend died, was, you know, like drinking, eating, binge eating the coke, and is now trying to reconnect with his family. And, you know, supposedly got like, you know, like a 6-minute standing innovation at, I can't remember, it was Cannes or Venice Film Festival, one of those. So yeah, that was one that's not on my radar up until about a week ago. Okay, Alec, what is one from your list?
Another stacked cast in our fall movie season. I wanted to talk about Damien Chazelle's Babylon.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Chazelle. Whiplash, La La Land, First Man, all movies I really dig. Cast is crazy. Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Tobey Maguire, Samara Weaving, Olivia Wilde, who's been in the news a ton lately. Spike Jonze acting again. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Gene Smart, Catherine Waterston. Cast is crazy. Apparently, the movie is 3 hours and 5 minutes long, and it's a very debaucherous take on 1920s Tinseltown. I'm fascinated.
DC, I think that was on your list too.
That was my number one.
Wow, and why so much that for that one? Because it sounds one of those movies that's hard to fit into any peg or hole and categorize.
It really is, but to echo Alex, what Alex said, I love Damien Chazelle. Like he's been a filmmaker I've been wanting to see anything from him for a long time because I love Whiplash, I love First Man, which should have done more better at the box office and the awards. But La La Land, like that movie, like I walked out of that movie feeling like that was an experience. That was like movie magic that I've been wanting to see for a long time. And in the cast too, like Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Tobey Maguire. And I do love how it's gonna be back to going like a Hollywood kind of stage, but back in like a I don't know, if it from what I've been reading so far, it kind of looks like his version of The Great Gatsby. And for a movie that's like has a budget of over 100 million and over 3 hours long, it could be like his version of The Wolf of Wall Street. And by that I mean I will see it and hoping I will love it. Like I want to walk out of this movie feeling like the same way I did La La Land, where it's like this guy, Damien Chazelle, we're not going to be ignoring him for the next 10 years.
Yeah. It's nice to see young filmmakers taking big swings. I had the pleasure of meeting him and Ryan Gosling when they were promoting First Man a few years ago. Very, very interesting young filmmaker. Looks about 19 years old, even today.
I think he's the youngest Best Director winner, I believe.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Okay, Alec, let's do one for you from your list.
It's been in the news a lot. We just talked about it. Don't Worry, Darling, still of interest to me. Directed by Olivia Wilde. I was looking forward to the movie before all the controversy and all the gossip and whatnot. I loved Olivia Wilde's directorial debut, Booksmart. She's kind of getting annoying on the publicity circuit right now. Still like her, but I'm kind of Team Florence Pugh at this point. I I don't know. Do you guys have interest in the movie? I know response hasn't been great out of Venice, but
I still am because like I love Booksmart and I love this cast, especially Florence Pugh. I'm curious how Harry Styles how his performance will be in here. But yeah, the rumors that's been going on for the last month or so, and combine them with the kind of not so great reviews we got so far, makes me kind of like okay, this might be messy than I thought, especially from that second trailer. I'm still hopeful that it could make sense when I see it, hoping I'll come out of it enjoying it.
Yeah, I'll just say this: they're going to really put a test to the notion that there's no such thing as bad publicity, because those movies had nothing but bad publicity. Of course, supposedly Olivia, the director, sleeping with her leading man, alienating her leading woman. Fired Shia LaBeouf from the movie, then lied about firing Shia LaBeouf from the movie, and Shia LaBeouf.
She's got me on Team Shia, and that's not easy to do these days.
Produce the emails where they're talking about why he left, and things aren't going for her right now. But who knows? Maybe
Chris Pine's a better man than me. If Harry Styles had spat on me, which it certainly looks like he did to Chris Pine, I would have knocked his block off.
Yeah. Okay, DC, let's go back to you. Do we still have anything from your list? Because I know we're getting towards the end of it. I see one more movie on your list.
Yeah, that's the Banshees of how you pronounce the what?
Inisherin?
Inisherin?
Yeah.
Inisherin, I believe.
Yeah, this one is from Marlon McDonough, who worked with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson before in Bruges. He also did Seven Psychopaths, which came out 10 years ago. And it's a follow-up to Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which I love. I love that movie. Everything he's done. And it is like the In Bruges reunion I've been waiting to see for a long time. And because from what the trailer and the story is like, it's about this friendship that just ends abruptly. And I'm just, the concept alone just kind of makes me laugh because Gleason didn't give a reason why he just don't want to be friends with Farrell. And from McDonough alone, it's going to be a dark comedy that you're going to be hit with some people, some alone. For me, it always writes that line of being so offensive but funny at the same time. So and the reviews have been pretty high for this one too.
Yeah.
You're hearing Colin Farrell has been getting Oscar buzz.
Yeah, I've heard that. I'll commit some film geek apostasy in that I've never been that big a fan of In Bruges. It's one of those movies that seems like everyone I know and my friends, fellow film critics just are crazy about that movie, and it's never connected for me. I don't know what to say. All right, Alec, I think I'm counting 2 left on your list. So why don't you go, and then I'll do my last one, and then you can wrap us up.
Okay. I guess the next one I'll talk about is Blonde, the Marilyn Monroe Netflix documentary from director Andrew Dominik. I'm a fan of Dominik's work, whether it be Chopper, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, or even the somewhat obvious but well-made Killing Them Softly. Really like Ana de Armas. I'm guessing she's going to be great in the movie. Interesting casting for some of the men in her lives. Bobby Cannavale playing Joe DiMaggio, Adrian Brody playing Arthur Miller. It is an NC-17 movie. I know it is also going to be pretty lengthy. I think it's like 2.5 or 2:45, but curious about it. I know, Chris, I think you're looking forward to this one too.
Yeah, very much. I'm intrigued just because it seems like very much a sideways way to come into a Marilyn Monroe biopic. With the casting and the approach. So I'm curious. Marilyn Monroe was one of those figures that I grew up sort of always aware of her, but not really respecting her talent as an actress. And then when I actually started to explore her filmography, and I got to see the clever ways that she sort of used her star persona in her acting and in the roles that she chose, I became more intrigued by her. DC, is that one? That one isn't on your list, but I'm guessing it's something you're also thinking about.
It's weird to me that we're getting another Marilyn Monroe movie 11 years after Michelle Williams was Marilyn Monroe in My Week in Maryland.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested.
I'm guessing this movie is going to be very different than that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling this movie is either going to be huge and become a real cultural watershed, or it's kind of going to disappear real quick. One of those. It's one of those that's, I think, right now very much the critics and the sort of the diehard film fans are very much focused on. I don't know how much like your average, cinema ticket buyer is. Speaking of, I picked a very mainstream choice for my last one, which is Ticket to Paradise, which is a rom-com starring Julia Roberts and
George Clooney.
George Clooney. So they're back together again. I'm very interested in this. So in this, they play a divorced couple who hate each other that are going to Bali for their daughter's wedding and are forced to spend time with each other, and we'll see what happens in terms of they're rekindling their old relationship. I'm just curious because Julia Roberts and George Clooney were as big movie stars as movie stars get. Now Golden Age Hollywood, they were actually at the top of the industry and seemed to really by choice rather than the industry's desire, kind of stepped away from being very active in filmmaking the last 10 years or so. I think so. They both very consciously made a choice, like, I'm going to do the projects that I want to do, and not feel that need to like put out a movie every year and be in the Oscar race and be producing, directing, and all that sort of thing. So I'm just curious, like this, a older couple rom-com seems like a curious choice for them to kind of come back and start a movie together again. I don't know. Were you guys even aware of that one or have any thoughts about it?
I was, for one, I was trying to think like, yeah, George Clooney hasn't made a lot of movies in the past few years. And I remember like, was like Money Monster the last movie he was in? And I remember, oh no, the Midnight Sky, but they directed. But yeah, this one, I'm curious, but it's gonna be pretty predictable, like where it's going. But I'm mostly gonna see it because of the cast, because like I do like seeing Clooney and Julia Roberts together, and also they also have Caitlin Dever from Booksmart, along with Billy Lloyd. Both of them I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, Julia Roberts' first feature film role since Ben is Back in 2018. And other than Midnight Sky, George Clooney was in Money Monster and Hail Caesar in 2016. So he's only been in 3 movies over the last 6 years.
I'm kind of hoping this Ticket to Paradise will be better than the 3 you mentioned.
Okay. All right, Alec.
Sorry. I had a few points to make on the last movie. I'm more excited about the young talent in that movie. Caitlin Dever is awesome. I'm a huge fan of her dating back to Justified. She was outstanding on that show. And Billy Lloyd was hilarious in Booksmart alongside Caitlin Dever. So interested to see them. The director of Ticket to Paradise, Ol Parker, doesn't do a whole lot for me. He directed Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. He's making movies for my mom, not for me. So, but
hey, your mom buys movie tickets.
That's true,
and other people's moms do too. So they need some movies.
And subscribes to the Film Yap. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Mom. All right, Alec, why don't you bring us on home with your last movie that you're looking forward to this fall?
Last movie I'm looking forward to is another Netflix production. It's directed by Noah Baumbach. It's his adaptation of Don DeLillo's White Noise. Really good cast in this one too. Adam Driver, Greg Gerwig, Jodie Turner-Smith, Don Cheadle, Andre 3000, and Alessandro Nivola again. He was in Amsterdam as well. Baumbach is a filmmaker I generally dig a lot. Squid and the Whale is one of my favorite movies of the aughts. And I haven't read this book, but from what I understand, it's a classic. So curious about the movie.
Is that one on your radar, DC?
It is, and this is actually be my second movie I've seen from Baumbach, because I love Marriage Story. And I think that's where Adam Driver gave his best performance I ever seen from him. And
go back, see Squid and the Whale. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And Adam Driver. I'm sorry. Go ahead, DC.
And then I think it's also the first screenplay that he didn't like work on the original idea from him. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out.
Yeah, and I'm interested, just to see keep seeing where Adam Driver is going. He just, his career just seems to get deeper and richer, and I really like the off-kilter roles that he's choosing. He's, very much not seeming like, taking like that standard Hollywood star kind of route. Obviously, he's been in some big movies, Star Wars and things like that, but sort of reminds me of like Jake Gyllenhaal when Jake Gyllenhaal was like in his 20s, he was sort of doing that, you know, the Hollywood star path, making these terrible movies. And he just said, you know, no, what, I'm gonna choose my own path. I'm gonna make movies that I want to see. I want to see myself, and I want to see made. So I'm glad to see another Hoosier
Like
guy.
the remake of Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe.
Hey, I'm excited for that. I'm making jokes, but
All right. Well, guys, thanks very much for your thoughts on the fall films. I'm excited to see movies coming back. Just read a big article about, you know, movies are back now. We're people are going back to the theaters in the numbers that they were back in 2019. So if you love movies, thanks for staying with us on our journey at the Film Yap Substack. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that button, and we really appreciate you. See you guys.
chatting with you all. DC, good to meet you, buddy.
You too, dude.